Good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Tuesday, December 3rd, 2019. And here are our top stories. How can you prepare for the AI revolution? And Disney Plus. Many see it as a threat to Netflix, but no one's canceling Netflix yet. Let's Tech Tuesday. Let's welcome in Daniel Klein, Senior Technology Consumer Products Reporter with The Motley Fool. Hi, Daniel. How are you?
I'm good. Just following up a massive Cyber Monday of buying, but no, I didn't buy anything.
I know we talked about the deals. I know people urge people to do your research and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully people are doing that and staying out of getting the deals that they want, and also staying out of shopping debt, which I don't think anyone appreciates a year from now. So let's just jump right in. We also talked this week about, or last week I should say, about artificial intelligence. And I think you've got some tips for human resource managers and those who do the hiring to prepare their staffs for the upcoming AI revolution. So what say you?
It's really more like I'd love for HR to do it, but I think realistically as a worker, you have to think of yourself. And so if you work in retail or even in, financial planning and other fields that are becoming in some parts automated, ideally your company will train you, but you have to think about, where do I fit in? So take an example we're all familiar with. When you walk into Target and you're going to check out, they now have a big area in most Targets of self-checkout. Now, self-checkout isn't AI, it's just, basic technology. But the person who keeps their job isn't the one who's a fast cashier. It's the person who's good with customers and having the patience to show them how to use the technology. So in some ways, you save your job by learning how to best serve the robot overlord. But when you take that to a higher level with AI, AI can tell you, say, what ordering patterns are or what customers might want, but can't you make them actually get it or to help them with what they need. Or AI could tell you, people who buy this with this end up returning something 10 times more often. I would say in my toy store days, we knew if you bought a gas-powered radio-controlled car and did not have a very high level of expertise, that you were going to break it, come back and tell us it was defective in the box. We would see grass in it and all sorts of signs of use. And then it would be a bad experience for everyone. So AI might tell you that happens, but you can learn the people skills to make sure that people don't do the behavior that's being predicted.
So you're seeing a move into two real areas. One is the customer service end. So if someone can't, they're on the front end, and if they can't use the new Paygo system, that you would help them out or support them, or just do basic customer support. And then on the other end, data analytics and you don't necessarily have to have a degree from a big school in order to do data analytics. It's learning how to use Microsoft Excel or a similar comparable spreadsheet product, being able to understand data, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it's common sense. And even at a small business, you can use some very easily available tools to tell you, say, what your inventory patterns are. And then you as a manager has to know what the exceptions. So you might, historical data might show, wow, there's a spike in this product sales every year during this week. But you might know, hey, I'm looking at the calendar, and the way the calendar falls, geez, that holiday isn't on a Saturday this year. It's on a Wednesday, and it's an island, and people just aren't going to spend as much money. So even though I traditionally sell 100, I'm only going to order 80. That's a person. There's always going to be a human interpretation of data. Yes, if you're playing chess or something that is purely numerical, you can program a computer to beat you. If it's pure trivia, a computer can always know better than you. If it's how are you feeling today, there's still a human component to that. If there's, hey, Walmart said just walk up to the kiosk, and I got to the kiosk and I scanned my thing and nothing has happened, a person is going to have to calm me down and make that transaction happen. And we might get to someday where the computers can eliminate, and you're starting to see like coffee shops that have no human component. There's a couple of kiosks in San Francisco and other places where you order on an app, you go to it, you pick it up from a locker. That sounds great until you pick it up from a locker and the machine was made wrong and your vanilla no-fat latte is a double cream caramel latte, who do you complain to? You know, we've talked about that. I've had issues with Uber. Because I take very short Uber trips to the airport. You put it in, the guy never shows up, forces you to cancel it, and you
Yeah.
get hit with a $5 cancellation fee. Humans have to
Yeah.
solve that, not
Yeah, I
technology.
actually go in. I get that too. They may not be good. The Uber driver may not be going your way, whatever, and then you have to actually submit for a refund of the cancellation fee. Dan, if I'm just kind of listening to this conversation, and if I'm say I'm an introverted person and I don't want to do customer service, there are things you can do, and we mentioned back channel analytics. There's support that you can do. Maybe in the coffee example, refilling the coffee filters, for lack of a better term.
There's always, I mean, maybe not always, but for the very foreseeable future, there's a human component. So you look at, we've talked about how Walmart has 70,
Yeah.
80,000 people picking orders, and that will eventually be replaced by robots doing it. But there will still be people involved in that process. Amazon has a highly automated warehouse system that's still supplemented by people. And the people that keep their jobs are the best and the brightest at doing that. They may not be great at public facing roles. There's obviously going to be an enormous amount of high end, very high paying jobs programming these things or figuring out, I have all this data. What do I do with it? Because the
Mm-hmm.
stuff we're talking about is very surface. Yeah, if you're an ice cream store and your data shows that you sell more peppermint stick in December, well, I probably could have told you that. But if you use that data, that's a very surface level of doing it.
Yeah.
Eventually, you can really dig into the person who buys this on Wednesday might respond to a coupon for that on Tuesday. And you're starting to see Starbucks not only do that, but they've actually started a technology company that's going to license out some of what they develop to other
And
companies.
and just we kicked off the conversation, and we're basically, you said, don't wait for human resources. Don't wait for the company to train you. You've got to train yourself. And I just remind the audience that right now, companies are facing a lot of stress. So there are financial stresses. Sales are down. The cost of labor increases, doesn't go down. So one way to bring that down is to automate. So I would always assume, I want to get your thoughts on this, Dan, that the company, the organization, the not-for-profit, the government, it will look for ways to reduce overhead in order to maximize profit. That just seems like a natural part of the system that we're in, and that people should likewise do the same and assume that, at some point what they do might get offloaded to a computer at some point or another, or even consolidated into a different group, right? I mean, those are things you have to be aware of today.
Absolutely. So we have a shortage of workers now, and that works in your advantage. That it is possible, like Walmart rethought a lot of its roles and changed some of its jobs and changed how the greeters worked. And they didn't lay anyone off immediately. They went to you and said, hey, these jobs are changing. Do you want to get
Yeah.
trained to do these other jobs? And some people, for disability reasons, weren't able to. And Walmart did, as I see it, a reasonably good job trying to accommodate them. But for most people, they got training and got new jobs. But you're definitely better off if you're proactive about that. So if you're at a company and you could see, boy, they're throwing a lot of labor at something that a really simple machine could do. We don't have enough truck drivers. Can I get my CDL in my
Yeah.
off hours?
Yeah.
Would the company pay me to go do that? Walmart might. Some of the big companies which really need truck drivers might pay you back for that education or give you a sign-on bonus for doing it. One of the things, look, I work at a very successful company at Motley Fool, but I'm always looking to be part of new projects because you never know when maybe your boss changes and the new guy is not as pleasant. So, hey, I work on 3 other things. I can put more effort there. Maybe an opportunity comes up because you volunteered yourself. I'm a big fan, even if you're the absolute entry level retail worker, volunteer to fill in shifts in other departments. Make yourself useful. When I used to run newspapers, I would trade my people with other papers in the chain. So if somebody was out long term, other people would know how to do their jobs because you'd often get asked to send a short-term replacement and they'd show up in a newsroom where the technology was different, the fonts, the layouts, and they wouldn't know anything. So they could make an argument when those jobs came open that they were ready for them, that they were trained. I did that as a manager to benefit me, which also benefited them. You as a worker, there's no retailer this time of year that isn't desperately looking to fill hours. And if you say, hey, I work at Lowe's. I know I work in garden, but if you show me how to be the guy that cuts the wood, I can do that. The more you can do, the less likely you're going to be in a recession, in a bad economy, to lose your job.
Dan, stick around. When we come back, we're going to talk to Dan about Disney Plus. What's been the impact to Netflix and other streaming services? Stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network. Welcome back, and we're talking to Dan Klein, Senior Technology Consumer Products Reporter with The Motley Fool. Dan, thanks for sticking around this morning on this post-Thanksgiving Tuesday.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to see you as always. So we have talked on the show about the release of Disney Plus, or the start of the new streaming service. And, we also have Apple TV Plus, which has recently launched as well. From your perspective, what has been the impact on Netflix and other existing streaming services?
So far, there's no impact on Netflix, because if you look at Netflix, it's very much like HBO. Chances are you have shows you're invested in that you're going to want to watch. And yes, some single person users, people that don't have a family, might say, you know what, I'm really excited about the next season of Stranger Things, but I'm not watching anything now. There's 5 things I want to watch on Apple and Disney. I'll turn off Netflix for a while and bring it back. But that's always been something Netflix has had to deal with. We've discussed this. In my family, my wife watches way more Netflix than I do. So it would not be fair for me to say, well, hey, I'm watching The Mandalorian now. I don't need Netflix, and turn it off. So I do think you will see more subscription management, but it's really going to be more downstream than Netflix. It's going to be, geez, do I really need the NBA League Pass on this team I follow? Do I really need, HBO or whatever the lesser things are? Or you might see people say, okay, I'm going to get HBO for 3 months. I'm going to watch all the episodes of last week tonight. I'm going to catch up on whatever series they have now that Game of Thrones is over. They may not have any. And you're going to see more management. But I think Disney Plus has done something that protects them from that, is that when they launched, The Mandalorian was really the only significant new show. I mean, there's a High School Musical series. There are a couple of original movies. All of their big shows are going to come out spaced out. So I'm very excited about the whole Marvel universe of shows. WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. There's Hawkeye, my favorite Avenger as a kid, is going to have a series. Those will come out. They will get a huge burst of publicity. And I think in the case of those, they're actually going to release 3 episodes when they launch. And then in the 4th week, 1. So that'll give you sort of a base. But that keeps the water cooler conversation going. That sort of makes it work. And one of the things that I don't like about Netflix is if you love a show, you never know when you can talk about it. It's like, I'm 2 seasons behind on Glow, a show I like very much. So you can't talk to me about it. You might be very excited. You might be done with it. Whereas when a show comes out on a weekly schedule, I think with The Mandalorian, it comes out on Friday. There's kind of an understanding that by Monday morning, it's okay to talk about that. And if I didn't watch it, and I haven't, I'm 2 episodes behind, but I'll watch them tonight. It's sort of on you. And that's a very traditional TV thing, but I think that will keep older people with Disney. Disney had no issue with younger customers. Their library is worth it 1,000 times over for parents.
And Dan, just to kind of compare, it sounds like the reaction to Disney Plus has been very positive. I, for one, have signed up as well, and I've, I don't have children, but I enjoy some of the old hits, Lady and the Tramp, Black Hole, Tron. I mean, these are things I grew up, and I do like The Mandalorian. Can you compare Apple Plus, or the Apple TV Plus package? Has the reception been as well for Apple? Are they seeing the subscriber base increase?
So Apple TV Plus, I'm sure they haven't released any numbers, but the vast majority of Apple customers get it for free because everybody who turned over an iPhone, everybody who bought a new Mac, everybody who bought a new iPad, that's a pretty big percentage of the Apple audience. So I don't know what Apple's true vision for Apple TV Plus is, but in my mind, it works a lot like Amazon Prime. Maybe there's a show you like, and it becomes another piece of the moat of you not canceling Amazon Prime because maybe you don't use it for delivery as often now that there's other delivery options and free options and all sorts of crazy ways to get stuff delivered to your house. So if you have an Apple device and your year ends and you're on the fence about getting a new iPhone, might you get an iPhone because you're excited about season 2 of The Morning Show? But if you look at the actual viewership numbers, and they're very shrouded, but the hit shows on Prime were 700,000 viewers, a failed show on most cable networks, or at least the bigger cable networks. So this is a smart add-on. And, look, you might see, I forget if it's Apple or Amazon, one of them is doing Lord of the Rings. Maybe you'll see a show break out that just establishes them the way, like The Walking Dead sort of built a cable network around it, or Breaking Bad and those shows. But right now, the programming is very niche-y, and even if it's good, I don't know, but my TV queue, I was away for 5 days. It's going to take me 2 months to catch up. So I'm not sure I need 3 more good shows when especially Disney is giving me name brands. And I think this could hurt Netflix eventually. There's no franchises on Netflix.
Sure.
I'm not sure you could build a Stranger Things universe that has 10 shows in it. The way there could theoretically be 10 Star Wars shows and 30 Marvel shows 20 years down the line when they've built out this whole framework. And nobody can compete with that.
That's a really good point. Dan, are we at a point where there's oversaturation to content? We've got HBO, Showtime. We just talked about Disney, Netflix, Amazon, Apple Plus. There's 24 hours in the day. You can't sit on the computer because you have to work. You got to go to the doctor. You got to do these other things. Are we at a point where there's too much content?
We are. We have an interface problem. And I actually think the people who can solve it are the people least willing to solve it at the moment, and that is internet providers and cable companies. If you have certain cable companies, you can get, and we've talked about this on the show before, Netflix as a channel. So when you're flipping around, no switching inputs, no changing apps, no devices, you get to whatever it is, just like HBO. Channel 132 is Netflix, and you can enter and watch Netflix and then flip back to regular television. You're starting to see more deals like that for selected services or more partnerships between the two. But I think the real inflection point is going to be, cord cutting has massively accelerated. We've seen more people leave in the third quarter than left all of last year, when that was also true through the first 2 quarters. So now we've seen about double the loss we saw last year, which had more than doubled the previous year. So we're getting to a point where cable's gone from 98 million homes to, I think the number's 84 million. And that number is even lower when you factor in that that's also including Sling TV and very inexpensive services for the most part. I think cable is going to recognize that they're the best delivery mechanism for what we used to think of as a very basic cable package. You get your local channels, you get your PBS, you get that channel that shows the town meeting and a hand-produced show about pets or whatever else it is. And sometimes there's whatever the dominant group in your area. In mine, there's a show about Haiti done because we have a large Haitian population. You're going to get those channels and the one that just shows like what lunch at the high school is. And then everything else is going to be a la carte. And this is actually a bad thing for some consumers because you will have to pick and choose what you want. And you may say, hey, like, you know what? Like, I really like VH1. I watch it every now and then, but I don't watch the rest of the MTV channels, so it's not worth it for me to buy that package. So I'm going to give up that content. And maybe you'll get it back through a second party 2 years down the line on Netflix or on another distribution platform. But it's going to become, for most people, a very tricky pattern of like, what's my core TV? Well, that's probably going to be Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus. Hulu only because it gives you a lot of network stuff and it can be bundled cheaply with Disney. But then where am I going to get my sports from? So, well, is that going to be through my cable provider? Is that Sling TV, which has ESPN and TNT? But that's not all your sports. Are you going to be able to get your local, Florida Sports Network or whatever it's called? Can I get NESN, which is the New England Sports Network with the Red Sox? Can I get that locally for $5 or $10 or whatever it is? We don't have answers because there is no leader, and any of the devices that have tried to aggregate this, Roku does an okay job. But for the most part, if I want to switch between Netflix and Sling TV, I have to like switch, and it's a load up, and it's like switching video games. It's not a good process. And I do think in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see a massive change in how that works.
It seems like there's opportunity there for aggregation. Dan Klein, always great to talk with you. And by the way, I don't watch MTV because they don't play music videos. Dan, always great to talk with you. Thanks for a great Tech Tuesday. And we'll talk to you again later in the week on the pod.
Thanks, Jeff. We'll see you next week.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a financial topic or someone of interest that you think we should interview? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the news in retirement markets, technology, personal finance, so much more, check out today's edition of The Morning Pulse. So until tomorrow, I'm Jeff Snyder. Keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
But if you're tired of the same